The paramedics were loading my pregnant sister into the ambulance when she grabbed the EMT's arm and gasped loud enough for everyone at my baby shower to hear, "She poisoned me." Arrest her. 50 guests turned to stare at me, their champagne glasses frozen midway to their lips, their faces shifting from concern to horror as my sister pointed directly at me. I stood there in my blue maternity dress, 7 months pregnant myself, as 2 police officers pushed through the crowd of my friends and family. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," the younger officer said, his hand already reaching for his handcuffs. My husband Nolan stepped between us. "This is ridiculous. You can't seriously believe—" "Sir, please step aside," the older officer interrupted. "We need to follow protocol when there's an accusation of poisoning." The metal handcuffs were cold against my wrists, clicking with a finality that made my baby kick hard against my ribs. My mother, Rosanna, was sobbing, clutching my father, Vernon's arm. My cousins whispered among themselves. My co-workers from the pediatric clinic stood in shocked silence. Every single person I cared about was watching me get arrested at my own baby shower. As the officers led me past the ambulance, I caught my sister Cordelia's eye. She was lying on the stretcher, one hand pressed dramatically against her forehead, the other cradling her 5-month pregnancy bump. But there was something in her expression, a flicker of satisfaction she couldn't quite hide. I stopped walking, forcing the officers to pause. Looking directly at Cordelia, I smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a confused smile, but a knowing one. "Interesting performance," I said, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent backyard. Her eyes widened. The paramedic checking her vitals looked between us, confused. For just a second, Cordelia's mask slipped, and I saw panic flash across her face. "Keep moving, ma'am," the younger officer said, guiding me toward the police car. "Delaney, don't say anything without a lawyer," Nolan called out, following us to the patrol car. "I'm right behind you. This is insane, and we'll sort it out." As I ducked into the back seat, careful not to bump my pregnant belly, I heard my mother wail to my father. How could Delaney do this to her own sister? Not, "Is Cordelia okay?" Not, "This must be a misunderstanding." But immediately assuming I was guilty. 29 years of being the responsible daughter, the one who never caused trouble, the one who worked double shifts to put herself through nursing school, while Cordelia dropped out of 3 different colleges. None of that mattered now. The ride to the police station was surreal. The officer driving kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, probably wondering how a pregnant woman at her own baby shower ended up in his back seat. The radio crackled with regular police chatter about traffic stops and domestic disputes, such ordinary crimes compared to attempted murder of a sibling. But here's what those officers didn't know. What the guests at my shower didn't know, what even my parents didn't fully understand. This wasn't the first time Cordelia had pulled something like this. It was just the first time she'd involved the police. When I was 16 and she was 14, she told our school counselor I was bullying her, showing bruises she'd given herself. When I got into college and she didn't, she told everyone I'd stolen her application essays. When I got engaged to Nolan, she claimed I'd seduced him away from her, even though they'd never dated. Each time she was the victim. Each time I was the villain. And each time everyone believed her. But this time was different. This time she'd gone too far, accusing me of poisoning her while we were both pregnant at my baby shower in front of everyone who mattered to me. She'd finally played a card she couldn't take back. 3 hours later, Detective Walsh, one of my father's old colleagues from his 30 years on the force, walked into the interrogation room with a manila folder and an expression I couldn't read. "The blood test results are back," he said, sitting across from me. And he opened the folder, pulled out several sheets of paper, and slid them across the table. "Your sister did have poison in her system, ipecac syrup to be specific." My heart stopped. "That's impossible." "I know you didn't," he interrupted, "because we also found the bottle in her purse, residue under her fingernails, and surveillance footage from your neighbor's security camera showing her adding something to her own drink when she thought no one was looking." The truth hit me like a physical blow. She poisoned herself. "She poisoned herself," Detective Walsh confirmed. "But Delaney, that's not even the biggest revelation from these tests." The morning of my baby shower started perfectly. Sunlight streamed through our bedroom windows at exactly 7 a.m., and for once, My pregnancy nausea had taken a day off. Nolan was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with his hand on my belly, feeling our daughter's morning gymnastics routine. "She's active today," he said, grinning. "Must know it's her first party." "Her first of many if your mother has anything to say about it," I laughed, remembering how Nolan's mom had already planned the baby's first birthday, Christmas, and possibly her high school graduation party. Downstairs, our house had been transformed overnight. Nolan had stayed up until 2 a.m. hanging white silk drapes from the ceiling, arranging gold balloons in perfect clusters, and setting up tables in the backyard. The garden looked like something from a magazine, with mason jars full of white roses and baby's breath on every surface. "Delaney, the caterers just arrived," Nolan called from the kitchen. "Your mom's already here helping set up." My mother, Rosanna, stood in the kitchen arranging cupcakes on a 3-tier stand with military precision. Each cupcake had a tiny fondant baby booty on top, alternating between pink and white. She didn't look up when I entered, too focused on making sure the spacing was exactly even. "Morning, Mom. Those look beautiful." "Cordelia texted she's running late," she said, still not looking at me. Morning sickness again. Poor thing can barely keep anything down. I bit my tongue, a skill I'd perfected over the years. Cordelia had announced her pregnancy exactly 1 week after mine, claiming she was 2 months behind me. Since then, every conversation with my mother started with updates on Cordelia's pregnancy, as if mine was old news. "Is Dad coming?" I asked, pouring myself a glass of orange juice. "Vernon's picking up Cordelia. She didn't feel well enough to drive." The subtle accusation in her tone was clear. How dare I have my shower when my sister felt sick? I went back upstairs to get dressed, choosing the blue maternity dress Nolan had surprised me with last week. It was expensive, way more than we'd usually spend, but he'd insisted. "You've been through 3 years of fertility treatments, 2 miscarriages, and 6 months of horrible morning sickness," he'd said. "You deserve to feel beautiful at your shower." The dress did make me feel beautiful. The empire waist accommodated my bump perfectly, and the color brought out my eyes. I even put on makeup, something I'd barely done since the pregnancy exhaustion hit. By 11:30, guests started arriving. My best friend Harmony came first, carrying an enormous gift bag and immediately tearing up when she saw me. "Look at you," she said, hugging me carefully. "You're glowing. And this backyard. Nolan outdid himself." My cousins arrived next, then Nolan's family, including his extremely enthusiastic mother, who immediately started taking photos of everything. My co-workers from the pediatric clinic came as a group, bringing a handmade quilt they'd all contributed squares to. "Dr. Patterson wanted to come, but she's on call," my colleague Bethany explained. "She said to tell you she's already put in your recommendation for the nurse practitioner program." That was supposed to be a secret, but hearing it made me tear up. After the baby was born and I'd settled into motherhood, I was planning to go back to school. It had taken years to get to this point. Stable marriage, house, baby on the way, career advancement planned. Everything I'd worked for was finally coming together. By 12:45, everyone had arrived except Cordelia. 50 guests mingled in the backyard, admiring the decorations, sampling the appetizers, and asking the same question, "Where's your sister?" "Should we start without her?" Harmony whispered to me. "People are getting hungry and the caterers want to serve lunch." I looked at my phone. No texts from Cordelia, but 3 from my mother asking if I'd heard from her. My father had sent one. "On our way." C insisted on stopping for ginger ale. "Let's wait 15 more minutes," I said, though my stomach was twisting with familiar anxiety. This was Cordelia's pattern. She'd been doing it since we were kids. Be late to my birthday party, then arrive with a bigger gift than anyone else. Miss my college graduation ceremony, then show up to the dinner with news that she'd gotten engaged, making that the focus of conversation. Skip my engagement party, then announce at Christmas that she was moving to Paris for 6 months. Each time she managed to make my moment about her absence, then her dramatic presence. And each time our parents acted like it was perfectly normal, even charming. "That's just Cordelia," they'd say. "You know how she is." Yes, I knew exactly how she was. And standing there in my blue dress, surrounded by people waiting to celebrate my miracle pregnancy, I wondered what she had planned this time. At 1 p.m., Cordelia swept through the back gate like she was walking a runway. She wore a flowing white dress that probably cost more than our entire shower budget, her hair in perfect waves despite the supposed morning sickness that had delayed her. My father, Vernon, trailed behind, carrying 3 gift bags and looking apologetic. "Delaney!" She rushed toward me, arms outstretched. "I'm so sorry, sister. This pregnancy is absolutely killing me. I threw up 3 times this morning. 3 times. Vernon had to pull over twice on the way here." Her hug enveloped me in a cloud of expensive perfume, the same one she'd worn to my wedding where she'd given a 20-minute maid of honor speech, mostly about herself. As she pulled back, her hands lingered on my shoulders and she looked me up and down. "You look tired," she said loud enough for others to hear. "Are you sleeping okay? I remember you mentioned having insomnia. So difficult in the 3rd trimester." "But Cordelia, you look absolutely amazing," my cousin Bethany interrupted, appearing at her elbow. "That dress is stunning, and your skin is literally glowing." "Oh, this old thing." Cordelia did a little spin. "I just threw it on. When you feel this nauseated, you just grab whatever fits, you know?" Within minutes, a crowd had formed around her. My baby shower guests were now asking Cordelia about her symptoms, her cravings, her nursery theme. She held court in the middle of my backyard, one hand on her 5-month bump, gesturing dramatically with the other. "We're doing a helicopter gender reveal next month," she announced. "Pink or blue powder dropped from 300 feet. Everyone's invited. It's going to be at the country club. Daddy's arranging everything." "Wow, a helicopter?" someone said. "That must cost a fortune." "Well, it's our first baby. We want it to be special." She glanced at me. "No offense to traditional cake reveals, of course. Those are sweet, too." I excused myself to the kitchen where I found Nolan stress-eating the mini sandwiches meant for the guests. "Want me to say something?" he asked. "Maybe redirect people to the games?" "No, it's fine. This is just how it is." "It's not fine, Delaney. This is your shower. You've been planning this for months." He was right. I'd handmade the favor bags, spent hours creating the perfect playlist, even learned calligraphy to address the invitations. But standing there watching through the window as Cordelia commanded everyone's attention, I felt like a guest at my own party. "Let's just go back out," I said. "Maybe we can start the games." But when we returned, Cordelia had moved to the gift table and was actually holding up one of my presents. "Oh my God, look at this adorable onesie." She was showing everyone a gift from my coworker. "Wouldn't this look perfect on my baby? The little elephants are precious." "That's actually for Delaney," my coworker said, her voice uncomfortable. "Of course." Cordelia laughed, but the sound was sharp. "I was just admiring it. Everything here is so cute. Though between us," she stage whispered, "I'm registered at Bergdorf's. They have this divine Italian nursery furniture collection." My mother appeared at Cordelia's side. "Why don't you sit down, sweetheart? You shouldn't be on your feet if you're feeling sick." "I'm fine, Mom. Just excited to celebrate my sister." She looked directly at me. "We should do a joint shower next time. Wouldn't that be fun?" "Cordelia, I'm due 2 months before you," I reminded her. "Right, of course, assuming everything goes according to plan." The games began, and Cordelia turned each one into a competition. During Guess the Baby Food, she made exaggerated gagging noises with every taste, claiming her pregnancy super smell made everything nauseating. She won by correctly identifying all 10 flavors, then mentioned she'd practiced with the same brands at home. During Baby Bingo, she called out her squares louder than anyone else, standing up and cheering when she won. "I'm so lucky today," she announced. "Must be the pregnancy hormones." When we played Don't Say Baby, she tricked 3 people in 5 minutes by asking seemingly innocent questions. "What's another word for infant?" She'd asked my aunt, who immediately said baby and lost her pin. Then came time for the cake. My mother had ordered a special gender reveal cake, even though everyone knew we were having a girl. It was supposed to be a sweet moment, cutting it together with Nolan while everyone took pictures. "Let Cordelia cut it with you," my mother suggested. "A sister photo, both of you pregnant together, it's perfect." As we stood together, knife poised over the cake, Cordelia leaned close. Must be nice having all this attention. Enjoy it while it lasts. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that once my baby comes, Mom and Dad will have their first grandchild to focus on. Cordelia, I'm literally due before you. She smiled as the camera flashed. We'll see about that. Sometimes things don't go as planned. Sometimes the second child arrives first. Sometimes the first pregnancy doesn't work out. My hand tightened on the knife. Are you threatening my pregnancy? Threatening? She laughed for the cameras. Don't be dramatic, Delaney. I'm just saying life is unpredictable. Smile. Everyone's watching. After cutting the cake, Cordelia suddenly pressed both hands to her stomach. Her face went pale, and she swayed slightly on her feet. I don't feel well. My mother immediately rushed to her side, abandoning the piece of cake she'd been serving. What's wrong, sweetheart? Is it the baby? No, I just need some water, and maybe some of that special herbal tea Delaney made earlier, the pregnancy blend she was telling everyone about. I froze. I hadn't made any tea, and I certainly hadn't been telling anyone about a pregnancy blend. What tea are you talking about? The one in the yellow pitcher on the counter. She pointed toward the kitchen. You said it was your special recipe for pregnancy nausea. Remember? You were telling Harmony about it when I arrived. Harmony looked confused. We were talking about the flower arrangements when you got here. No, I distinctly heard you mention the tea. Cordelia walked toward the kitchen, one hand still on her stomach, the yellow pitcher with the mint leaves floating in it. There was indeed a yellow pitcher on the counter, but it contained regular lemonade I'd made that morning, fresh lemons, water, and sugar. Nothing else. I'd made it as a non-alcoholic option for myself and any other pregnant guests. I watched Cordelia pour herself a large glass. She held it up to the light, examining it like she was checking for something. This looks different from what you described. I didn't describe anything because I didn't make any tea. That's lemonade. No, there's definitely something else in here. She took a small sip, then made a face. It's bitter, like medicine. My cousin stepped closer, concerned. Maybe it went bad? If it tastes off, you shouldn't drink it. When did you make this, Delaney? Cordelia asked, taking another larger sip. This morning, fresh, and it tasted fine when I tried it. Well, it tastes strange now. She took another drink, then another, maintaining eye contact with me the entire time, almost like someone added something to it. The way she said it, the way she looked at me, made my skin crawl. Something was happening here. Something planned. I glanced at Nolan, who was watching Cordelia with narrowed eyes. He'd seen it too. If it tastes bad, why are you still drinking it? He asked. I'm just so thirsty. The pregnancy makes me dehydrated. She finished the entire glass, then immediately poured another. Besides, I trust my sister. Delaney would never serve something dangerous at her own shower, right, Delaney? Of course not. Good, because that would be horrible. Poisoning your pregnant sister. Can you imagine? She drank half the second glass in one long swallow. Although, I suppose some people might do anything to remain the center of attention. My father, who'd been quiet until now, stepped forward. Cordelia, what are you doing? What do you mean, Daddy? I'm just having some tea or lemonade or whatever this is. She finished the second glass and set it down hard on the counter. Actually, I'm feeling worse. My heart is racing. She pulled out her phone and started typing something quickly. I caught a glimpse of the screen and saw she was in her medical app, the one that tracks symptoms. She was recording everything: time of consumption, amount consumed, symptoms experienced. Cordelia, are you documenting this? Vernon asked, his 30 years of police experience showing in his tone. Just tracking my pregnancy symptoms, Daddy. My doctor said to record everything unusual. She looked at me again, especially anything I consume that tastes off. She moved back toward the crowd of guests, her hand pressed to her chest. I really don't feel well. The room is spinning. Should we call your doctor? My mother asked. Maybe we should just wait and see if it passes, Cordelia said, but she was speaking louder now, making sure everyone could hear. I'm sure whatever was in that drink will work through my system soon. Nothing was in the drink except lemons, water, and sugar, I said firmly. Then why do I feel so sick? She grabbed the back of a chair. Why is my heart pounding? Why am I sweating? She was sweating, but it was 78 degrees and she was making a scene. Anyone would be sweating. But the guests were starting to murmur, looking between us with growing concern. Someone should call 911, a voice from the crowd suggested. No, I'm sure it's nothing, Cordelia said, but she was already swaying more dramatically. I just need to sit down, unless Delaney thinks I should go to the hospital. What do you think, sister? As a nurse, what would you recommend for someone who might have ingested something harmful? The trap was set, and I could see it clear as day. If I said she didn't need medical attention, I'd look negligent. If I said she did, I'd look guilty. Either way, she'd positioned herself as the victim and me as the threat. I think anyone who feels they've been poisoned should seek immediate medical attention, I said carefully, and have their blood tested, and have the substance they consumed tested as well. Cordelia's eyes flickered with something, surprise maybe, or calculation. You're right. Someone should call 911, for the baby's sake. Then, with timing that would have impressed a professional actress, she collapsed onto the grass. The paramedics arrived within 7 minutes, their sirens cutting through the afternoon air and drawing neighbors to their windows. Cordelia was conscious but playing her part perfectly, moaning softly and clutching her stomach, while the EMTs checked her vitals. "Ma'am, can you tell me what happened?" the first paramedic asked, a young woman with kind eyes. "I drank something," Cordelia gasped. "From that yellow pitcher. My sister made it. It tasted wrong, like medicine, but I trusted her." The paramedic glanced at me, then back at Cordelia. "How much did you consume?" "2 full glasses. I was so thirsty." She watched me drink it all. Cordelia's voice grew stronger, more theatrical. "She's a nurse. She would know what certain substances do to pregnant women." As they lifted her onto the stretcher, Cordelia grabbed the EMT's arm with surprising strength. Her next words came out loud and clear, pitched perfectly for maximum impact. "She poisoned me. My sister poisoned me. Arrest her." The silence that followed was deafening. 50 guests stood frozen, champagne flutes still in hand, as 2 police officers who'd responded to the medical call turned toward me. "Ma'am," the older officer said, his hand moving to his belt, "we're going to need to ask you some questions." "This is insane," Nolan said, stepping forward. "Delaney would never hurt anyone, especially not her pregnant sister." "Sir, please step back," the younger officer said. "When there's an accusation of poisoning, we have to follow protocol." But then Cordelia started convulsing on the stretcher. Her body shook violently. Her eyes rolled back. Foam appeared at the corner of her mouth. Real or fake, it looked convincing enough that the officers made their decision. "Ma'am, please turn around and put your hands behind your back." The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into my wrists as my mother sobbed in the background. "How could you, Delaney? Your own sister?" As they led me past the ambulance, I looked directly at Cordelia. Her convulsions had stopped, and for just a moment our eyes met. I saw the satisfaction there, the triumph she couldn't quite hide. "Interesting performance?" I said calmly. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected me to be calm. She'd expected tears, protests, begging. The EMT looking at her monitors frowned. "Her vitals are actually pretty stable," she muttered to her partner. "Heart rate's elevated, but not dangerously." At the police station, they put me in an interrogation room that smelled like old coffee and disinfectant. Detective Walsh, who'd worked with my father for 20 years, sat across from me looking deeply uncomfortable. "Delaney, I have to ask you these questions. You understand that, right?" "I understand." "Did you put anything in the lemonade?" "Lemons, water, and sugar. That's it." "Your sister seems pretty convinced otherwise." "My sister also once convinced our high school that I'd stolen her boyfriend when she'd never even spoken to the guy. She's convincing when she wants to be." Detective Walsh made notes. "We've sent the pitcher and the glasses for testing. We'll have blood work from your sister soon. If you're telling the truth, the tests will show it." 3 hours passed. Nolan was in the waiting room with a lawyer. My father had texted that Cordelia was stable at the hospital, still insisting she'd been poisoned. The guests from my shower had dispersed, probably already spreading the story through social media. Finally, Detective Walsh returned with a manila folder and an expression I couldn't read. "The blood test results are back," he said, sitting down heavily. "And? Your sister did have poison in her system. Ipecac syrup, to be specific." My heart stopped. "That's impossible. I didn't put anything in that lemonade." "I know you didn't." He pulled out several sheets of paper. "Because we found the bottle of Ipecac in her purse, we found residue under her fingernails, and your neighbor's security camera, the one that covers part of your backyard, caught her adding something to her own glass when she thought no one was looking." The relief was so intense I almost collapsed. She poisoned herself? That's exactly what she did. Ipecac causes vomiting and temporary distress, but it's rarely dangerous in small doses. She gave herself just enough to seem sick, but not enough to actually harm herself. He paused. Or her baby. Thank God the baby's okay despite what she did. Detective Walsh's expression changed. He pulled out another report. "Delaney, there's something else. The hospital ran a comprehensive panel because of the pregnancy. Full hormonal workup, ultrasound, the works." "What did they find?" "Your sister isn't pregnant. The ultrasound showed no fetus. Her hormone levels are completely normal. The doctor found a fake pregnancy belly in her bag, the kind actors use. She's been faking the entire pregnancy." The room spun. "She's not pregnant? But she's been posting ultrasound photos, talking about nursery plans. She had a gender reveal party planned. All fake. The ultrasounds were downloaded from the internet. The doctor said she's seen this before. It's called pseudopsoriasis delusion, though in your sister's case, she knew she was faking." The drive home from the police station felt surreal. Nolan kept glancing at me while navigating through traffic, his jaw clenched tight. Neither of us spoke until we pulled into our driveway where the remnants of my baby shower still decorated the backyard. White ribbons hung limp from chairs, abandoned plates of cake sat on tables, and the yellow pitcher still stood on the outdoor bar like evidence of a crime scene. "She faked a pregnancy and tried to frame you for poisoning her," Nolan finally said, his voice flat with disbelief. "Your own sister did this at your baby shower. Because she couldn't stand me having something she didn't have." Inside, we found my parents sitting in our living room. My mother's eyes were red and swollen from crying. My father, Vernon, looked older than his 58 years, his shoulders slumped with the weight of what he'd learned. "The hospital called us," Vernon said without preamble. "Cordelia admitted everything. The fake pregnancy, the Ipecac, the plan to frame you." "She's been struggling," my mother said weakly, unable to meet my eyes. "When you announced your pregnancy after all your fertility struggles, she felt invisible. She thought if she was pregnant too, she'd get the same attention." "So she faked a pregnancy and tried to have me arrested at my own baby shower?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "She didn't think the police would actually arrest you," my mother said. "She just wanted people to comfort her, to take her side. She wanted to be the victim for once." "For once?" I stood up, my pregnant belly making the movement awkward. "Mom, she's been the victim in every story for the past 15 years. When I got into college, she was the victim of unfair admissions. When I got married, she was the victim of losing her sister. When I announced my pregnancy, she immediately became the victim of comparison." "And you always took her side," I continued, "every single time." My father spoke up. "Not anymore. Cordelia needs help, real psychological help. We've enabled her for too long, made excuses for her behavior. That ends now." "Where is she?" "Psychiatric hold at the hospital," Vernon said. "She agreed to it voluntarily after we confronted her with the evidence. The doctor said she's showing signs of severe narcissistic personality disorder with histrionic features." "Is she sorry at least?" My parents exchanged glances. "She says she is," my mother said carefully, "but the doctor warned us that true remorse might take time, if it comes at all." 2 months later, I gave birth to my daughter, Penelope. 7 pounds, 3 ounces of perfect baby girl with Nolan's nose and my stubborn streak. The delivery room was peaceful, just Nolan and me and the medical team, exactly as we'd wanted it. Cordelia was still in therapy, living with our parents under strict supervision. She'd sent a letter through my father, 6 pages of apologies and explanations. How the attention I got from my fertility struggle made her feel invisible. How my pregnancy announcement felt like losing a competition she didn't know she'd entered. How she'd bought the fake belly online and practiced her story for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to execute her plan. I haven't responded to the letter. Maybe I will when I'm ready. Maybe I never will. The truth is, forgiveness isn't something you owe someone just because they're family. It's something you grant when you're ready, if you're ever ready, and only when the person has shown real change. My mother asked me last week if Cordelia could meet Penelope. When she's been in therapy for a full year, I said, watching my daughter sleep in her bassinet, and not a day before. That seems harsh, my mother said. No, Mom, harsh was trying to have me arrested at my baby shower. This is just boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls meant to punish. They're shields meant to protect. And my daughter deserves a family that puts her safety and well-being first, even if that means keeping her aunt at a distance until she proves she's genuinely changed. The yellow pitcher still sits in my cabinet, unused but not thrown away. Nolan suggested getting rid of it, but I keep it as a reminder. Not all poison comes in bottles. Sometimes it comes disguised as family, wrapped in white dresses and false tears, seeking attention at any cost. But truth, like ipecac, has a way of bringing everything toxic to the surface. And once it's exposed, once you can see it clearly for what it is, you can finally begin to heal. My baby shower didn't end the way I planned. Instead of happy memories and photographs to cherish, I got a harsh lesson in family dynamics and the lengths people will go to for attention. But I also got something more valuable: freedom from the guilt and manipulation that had defined my relationship with my sister for years. Sometimes the best gift you can receive is the truth, even when it comes wrapped in chaos and delivered with handcuffs. If this story resonated with you, if you've dealt with toxic family dynamics or know someone who has, please like this video and share it. Your comments mean everything, so let me know your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real, raw stories about family, betrayal, and finding strength in the truth. Thank you for listening to my story.